We are in Annapolis, Maryland, and we're going to show you the fun things you can do here.
This marks the 17th state we visited.
Our first stop is the Annapolis Maritime Museum.
Founded in the year 2000, this museum on the Chesapeake Bay preserves the legacy of the region's watermen. Once an oyster packing plant, now a vibrant hub with hands-on exhibits, art, and stories shaped by the sea. This game is about collecting oysters. Choose a harvesting technique. I picked hand picking because it's really good for the ocean, but it's not good for me because it's harder to pick up stuff.
So dredging is the best for me, but the worst for the environment. So I'm guaranteed to win. Perfect. So after playing the game, we have a better idea of how oyster harvesting works. And I think dredging is one of the most efficient ways to do it, but it also damages the oyster reefs. So it benefits you, but it's bad for the environment.
Oh, you can flip it up.
So we are in the Chesapeake Bay right now. Whoa, I love how when you flip the page, the projector changes. We don't have this technology back at home. This is the progression of the water quality of the bay. So in the 1600s, of course, it was completely clear. And then over time, it became more and more polluted. But then in recent years, I guess it got a little bit better because of cleanup efforts.
Over here is a touch table. You can touch them. I'm not going to touch them, but I like looking at them. Okay, so there are some crabs. And then also some fish. I don't know what fish these are. Oh, that one's a huge one.
And that was the Annapolis Maritime Museum.
I really enjoyed the game. It really taught us a lot about how they oyster farm.
I was impressed by the tech inside the museum. There's so many interactive games that you can play that involve technology that I guess coming from California, I wasn't expecting as much of the museums here, but it was actually better than a lot of the museums in California. Our next stop is Museum of Historic Annapolis.
This museum brings Annapolis's rich past to life with stories, artifacts, and history right in the heart of the city.
We're watching a film about the town of Annapolis, which at one point was the nation's capital.
There's different activities that you can do, such as scavenger hunts and decoders.
This museum is presented in a timeline. So first we have 1650 to 1800. From 1783 to 84, it was America's capital city. What does Annapolis mean? Ann City. Was there a free black community? Yes, in 1800, about 1/3 of black people were free here. The second section is the 19th century. A lot of this century features stuff about black people, so like the Emancipation Day was in 1864. Maryland elected its first black official in 1873. Next is 1900 to 1970. One of the artifacts in this room is the Green Book. Published from 1936 to 1966, this basically told black travelers where they were safe to go to in terms of hotels, restaurants. We're in the last room, which is about the present. And next year will be the USA's 250th birthday.
Have you ever wondered, why do we burn our socks?
And that is the Museum of Historic Annapolis.
I really enjoyed the scavenger hunt and the decoder. I didn't get to finish mine, but it took us through the whole entire museum and showed us all the key details throughout history in Annapolis.
I did not know that Annapolis was the nation's capital, so that was fun to learn about. And I loved the organization of this museum, how you were able to learn from the very start of the city to the present. Our next stop is the United States Naval Academy.
This academy trains the nation's future Navy and Marine Corps leaders.
We're gonna go in the chapel. So old. Now we're gonna check out the museum at the Naval Academy. On the second floor, there's a whole bunch of models of ships.
This one's cool. I like how massive it is, and also look at all those cannons. What I do like about the ships is they don't just worry about the outside, but they also detail the inside. You can look inside.
This is the weekly ration for one seaman, and it includes 7 gallons of beer.
I know Tuesday and Saturday are amazing because it's like beef sandwich.
The first floor of the museum has an exhibit called Leadership and Service, and it shows the contributions of the graduates of this Naval Academy in both war and peace.
We're entering the war for 1812.
Why was this in my history test? It's not even that important. I'm trying to remember why we even learned this.
Here is the machine gun. It doesn't even look like a machine gun. It looks like a bazooka. How many pages are there?
This is what I'm currently learning in US history right now, the Cold War.
It looks exactly like a rock. It's not special. If you just grab a regular rock and you say, hey, this is from the moon, how much can you sell?
And that was the museum at the Naval Academy.
I really enjoyed looking at all the different model ships. It was crazy how detailed all of them are.
And I liked the first floor because it basically covered every point in US history, and I was able to learn about the Navy's involvement in all those wars. Next stop is the William Paca House Garden.
This house and garden offer a glimpse into colonial elegance.
William Paca was one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, and he was the 3rd governor of Maryland. This house has been restored as much as possible to the 1760s.
So this is the parlor. This is typically the first room guests are greeted on tours. It turns the spit over the fire so that an enslaved child or dog wouldn't have to do it. And this is the dining room. So a lot of the family's silver is actually in here. This cruet set belonged to William and Mary. This waistcoat here is actually belonged to William. So this is 18th century silk, authentic. And the rest of it is recreation. A lot of ladies would have necklaces with miniatures of their loved ones as well, little miniature portraits. This is a walker. This is a children's walker. You would open it here to let the child in, and then this is like a little drawer that they can set their rattle in and stuff like that. It's on wheels, so that would kind of help teach the child how to walk. Just take us to the garden from here.
This is the boxwood parterre. Over there's the summer house. This is the holly parterre. This is supposed to be a pear archway, but right now it's not spring, it's winter, so.
And that is the William Paca House and Garden.
I really enjoyed the house tour and looking at all the different rooms back in the day. By far, this home had a lot of preserved artifacts that they were able to save and even recover.
Some of the artifacts in the home were cool, and I also enjoyed walking around in the garden, but it would be even better in the springtime. Our final stop is the Maryland State House.
This is the oldest state capitol still in use and where George Washington resigned his commission.
You used to be able to go up the dome of the State House on your own, but they stopped that after 9/11. But then they still had guided tours, but then when COVID hit, then they just completely stopped it. This is what the view would have been.
This is Harriet Tubman. She worked on the Underground Railroad.
I'm taller than Harriet Tubman. They placed this statue of George Washington at the exact spot where they believed that George Washington resigned his command of the Continental Army in 1783. I can't believe I'm standing where he stood. And that's the Maryland State House, the oldest state capitol building that's still functioning today.
I enjoyed learning all of the historic people who worked in Maryland and that were displayed in this museum.
It was cool being in the exact spot where George Washington once stood.
Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye!